Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre is going to happen. WWE Championship on the line at Hell in a Cell. Is this the final hurrah for the almighty era? We're going to talk about it in just a second, so stay tuned. This is WrstlXtra.
Yo, folks. This is WrstlXtra. I am your boy ADazzle alongside my tag team partner Mex, the WrestleManiac UK.
Yes.
And you are watching on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel and, of course, listening on AffinityExtra.com. Mate, what's going on? I'll be honest with the folks. I've been out of the mix a little for the last week.
Busy.
Outside of the world of wrestling, I have this weird thing called a job. And in that job, I work strange and crazy hours. But it's a good one. But so I've been kind of out of the mix, not necessarily seeing everything, you know, play by play and minute by minute, catching a few highlights here and there, and a few little bits of news that I needed to know, not just everything that I want to know, just needed to know. There's not been much, but there's been enough. One of the first things we're going to talk about, Mex mentioned it in the intro, is, we now know, completely confirmed, it will be Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell. The one thing I will say before we discuss this properly, the one thing I like about this is the simple fact of seeing these two in a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that part.
Yeah.
The downsides is this is now Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre 5. I don't know, like 3, 4. I can't remember now. Obviously, Bobby Lashley has come out on top when he's needed to. At WrestleMania, of course, the triple threat about 2 or 3 weeks ago with Braun Strowman, the future endeavored Braun Strowman. And now we're getting them two in Hell in a Cell. Mex, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know exactly what your thoughts are, but tell the people, what are your thoughts when it comes to Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell? What's going to happen, bro?
So I had my, thoughts before this whole segment, but I think the segment on Raw this past week more or less all but confirmed what I was thinking. We saw the contract signing where MVP and Bobby Lashley had basically said, look, Drew, you swindled your way into another rematch.
Another one.
Very much what Kofi said, a couple of weeks prior. And MVP said, look, we applaud you for it. I don't know, whatever strings you're pulling, you're pulling them, and you're here again. And Bobby Lashley had basically said, listen, Drew, when I beat you, this is your last opportunity at the WWE Championship, as long as I'm champion and all that. Yeah. Drew agreed to the terms, and he said, yeah, he wants to keep anyone out, of interference. So they make it a Hell in a Cell match. Cool. And it's just that stipulation alone of this is your last opportunity. We've seen it so much in wrestling. This is your last opportunity. It's time to really pull it out of the bag. Yeah. And that was, for me, the icing on the cake that, yeah, Drew's going to win. I think we spoke about this a week ago or so that, crowds are coming back as of the middle of July next month. They probably want the big baby face champion as the crowds come back. I think only crowds will tell how over Drew really is, because I don't think he's as over as they think he is. Not anymore.
Correct.
Still a baby face, but just not as much. But yeah, that I think, unfortunately, Lashley is going to lose the title. The almighty era comes to an end, but he may be rewarded with the match at SummerSlam against Lesnar. It's looking more and more like that is on the cards. So yeah.
Okay, let me just throw this one in there. So obviously we've seen this stipulation before. we've seen the whole "this is your last chance. If you don't win, you'll never get a chance at the title again, as long as I hold it," and all that big talk. But we have seen someone lose that chance. We've seen it before. It doesn't happen often, but we've seen it. Most recently, of course, in on the other side of Florida in AEW, Cody did the same thing. But obviously, Cody runs the business, and they did it so the fans wouldn't get all upset at the fact that the man running the show is the man running the show, basically. So there was a reason for that. But I know that we have seen it in other times as well. You also mentioned the match that we've been waiting for like 3 years.
Yeah,
Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. My feeling is this though: Brock Lesnar's never actually wanted that match. Never. Whether kayfabe, whether real, Brock Lesnar himself has never wanted that match. My feeling is the only way that match could happen is if Bobby Lashley is holding the WWE Championship. So I'm seeing one of two things. Either Lashley wins and we get the match, or Lashley loses and we're never going to see that match ever in our life. It's as simple as that. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know which one they're going to go for. Are WWE fussed about Lesnar Lashley? Is that really on the cards for them? Is that really a thing that they want to make happen themselves? Has Lashley been built enough for them to say, okay, right, we now believe in it. Let's make it happen. Yeah. I think the only way that happens is, as I said, is if Lashley wins and still holds the WWE Championship, and then on the next night on Raw or just at Money in the Bank or something like that, Lesnar comes out and does what he needs to do, and then we're getting with the match that we wanted. But I just don't know.
I mean, this SummerSlam, it looks like this is basically going to be WrestleMania, bigger than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They are really.
They want to build.
Obviously, they've got a stadium, a 70,000 seater stadium, which they're planning to fill. This is definitely going to be, the biggest SummerSlam that they've had in the US anyway. I think the one in Wembley back in the day was quite big, but
I think it's just over 90 to 100,000.
Yeah, so this will probably be the biggest one on US soil, to be honest. So yeah, it looks like Lesnar's coming back. Everyone has, I haven't went as far to go and check, but people have said that, Lesnar's moved from the alumni section back to the active roster section on the website or whatever. So, all of this kind of stuff that, the real diehards have gone and checked and seen. Yeah. So, I think it's enough of a match that they could run it without the championship. Just because it's something, they wanted for so long. Now, you're saying, is Lesnar motivated for this match without the championship? It possibly could be a hard sell, especially if he's doing the duty for Bobby Lashley to go over as well, as Bobby Lashley's the one that's on the card roster. So it could be a difficult sell. It would be better with the WWE Championship, but it's either that, or they're bringing him back for Drew to have a rematch against Drew for the WWE Championship, which is a possibility.
That's a very strong possibility, actually.
Yeah, because Drew is gonna need, if he's gonna be WWE Champion, he's gonna need a big match at SummerSlam. So, yeah, we all want to see the Bobby Lashley Lesnar match. I just hope they deliver it.
I just feel as though, obviously, as we say every single time we mention it, it's the reason why Bobby Lashley came back.
Yeah,
he's even said it himself. It was part of the reason why he came back. Thinking that was a stronger possibility. It feels as though everything that's happened with Lashley in the last year and a bit is building up to that. So I don't know. I just don't know. Like I thought it was done with, a year ago. I thought we were never going to see it, to be honest. And then obviously Lashley won the championship. And I'm now thinking, the one thing that will entice Brock to come back and face Lashley is this. You mentioned a very interesting thing, and we haven't gone this far either. If the match was to happen, what would actually happen and who would win? I don't think Brock Lesnar's going to come back to put Lashley over? Nah. Not in this lifetime, mate. Not in this lifetime. I mean, unless there was a promise of him eventually winning it, it wouldn't. I don't see that happening. But at the same time, I don't think I'd actually care about the outcome.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't a 9-second squash.
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually care who won. I just want to see the match, make it happen. I can say that in my lifetime, in time of grandkids, I saw Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. You know what I mean? And that'll be it for me. But we'll see. We'll see. As always, time will tell, and we have to just wait and see how Vince McMahon feels when he wakes up in the morning. Just whether it will happen or not, or if he, if his lunch goes down just before the pay-per-view starts, maybe in a good mood, and we'll get the match. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Moving on, not necessarily moving on, but we're talking about this whole thing with Lashley and Drew McIntyre. And of course, in the last few weeks, Kofi Kingston has also been in the mix. Kofi Kingston's been in the mix. He pinned Bobby Lashley about 3 weeks ago with the help of Drew McIntyre, then ended up in a number one contenders match with Drew. First one was a no contest. And then the second one, Drew ended up winning. But it was a great match. The only good thing that happened on that week of Raw. Probably the only good thing that's happened in the last month of Raw. But interestingly enough, we saw a very long dialogue with MVP and Kofi Kingston in the back. And the fans and the Instagram and Twitter universe has gone crazy and are just waiting now for Kofi Kingston to join the Hurt Business. I only had a conversation, folks, calm down. But at the same time, we've seen MVP in the ears of people before, and he managed to get his way. That's how he recruited Cedric eventually. Shelton Benjamin was quite easy. And then, of course, that's how, let's be real, that's how Bobby Lashley also got his WWE Championship, because MVP was in the ears of The Miz. What do you think? Are you on the same side of the fans, or the majority of the fans, should I say, who are just expecting within a week, 2 weeks, for Kofi to do a Seth Rollins on Xavier Woods, or a Shawn Michaels, as I've seen one of the memes already, on Xavier Woods, and do him over and join MVP Bobby Lashley in the Hurt Business? It just doesn't make sense. I just can't see it. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's very intriguing as to his motivations to why he's doing this, because Kofi Kingston, yes, was just coming after the WWE Championship a matter of weeks ago. He caught Kofi before Kofi had a match with Riddle, and kind of told him, I was there. I cried when you won this thing. Kofi Mania died because you let it, sort of thing. And while we're out here conducting business, he said you're round the back shucking and driving. And
oi. You better watch your mouth, MVP. You better watch your mouth.
So it's like, okay, what does he want here? Is this recruitment talks? Is he foreseeing the loss that Bobby Lashley's gonna have, and maybe trying to recruit a new top guy, to associate himself with? I was thinking more of that, because maybe with all these women he's been bringing around Bobby Lashley's lost his focus or something like that. I don't know.
Right. That would be
and Kofi Kingston is now his new target that he can see something in. He wants to, bring back the feelings that he had when Kofi Mania was running wild, so to speak. So it's just, I think it's too early. It's far too early. And knowing the creative, they probably just dropped this next week. Nothing ever happened. Like, he's just like, oh, guys, they're friends backstage talking. There's nothing to it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it could be something, and especially how it's like Xavier Woods was kind of excused from the situation. It was just Kofi. Yeah, very, very interesting.
Let me share my thoughts or my curveball.
I think I know what you're gonna say, and it literally a light bulb just came to memory. We're gone.
So we've seen, of course, the conversation. Going, responding to your thoughts first. Actually, we've seen the conversation, and if this happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have just said, okay, maybe it's just a distraction tactic more than a recruitment tactic.
Yeah.
But now that Kofi is not on the scene in the WWE title picture, it only seems as if it is some level of recruitment.
Yeah.
The last 2 or 3 weeks, Xavier Woods has lost his matches. We've not seen a real push for Xavier Woods in terms of a singles push. I think Kofi Kingston beat Riddle yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I think the swerve is going to come, and it's going to be Xavier Woods that turns on Kofi and joins the Hurt Business.
That would be massive.
Oh, that would be interesting. And the thing is as well, even logically, down to the way their characters are and how they are as people, all that kind of stuff, it would actually make a little bit more sense for it to be Xavier Woods to turn heel or whatever it is. I know we've seen the New Day as heels at times, but it's never worked with Kofi as it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, he may do a Bailey on me and change my perception, like 6 months in or something like that. But I'm not even excited about the possibility of Kofi Kingston turning heel and joining the business. Doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. Xavier Woods, however, yes, please, let's go.
Yeah, that would be interesting, but I just feel like Xavier Woods is the New Day. He is very much the embodiment of this entire thing, and I can't imagine it. I don't know. What are you saying?
I was gonna say, but that's why.
I hear that. Yeah.
Motivation. I'm the one that started the New Day. I'm the one that made you lot famous. I'm the one that did this, that, blah, 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 and I'm getting nothing for it. Now it's my time. Yeah. We've seen it so many times. That's the so it's a typical pro wrestling storyline and motive. So it just makes more sense to me. It simply makes more sense to me, and I get with what's happened in the last few weeks with Kofi being the main man and he's the former WWE champion and he's the quote unquote bigger star of the two, but again, Xavier Woods has been doing 20 million things outside of wrestling. And is a major star outside of wrestling. So for me, if I was creative, it's a little bit more of a logical way to go. And you can even with how they've started this thing, it helps to build the layers of the whole story as well. So we go with Kofi, trying to recruit Kofi every single week and all the rest of it. And then out of nowhere, boom.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much how Cedric joined.
Oh, kind of, yeah, very, very similar. But it was the little difference was MVP was in Cedric's ear the whole time. He was just trying to refuse. Whereas with Xavier Woods now, it would be more of a, I'm hearing what you're saying to Kofi. Kofi's not listening to you. I'm interested.
And I went in. Yeah.
Oof.
So I actually thought when I had my light bulb moment, I thought you were going to say Big E. Because Big E is obviously right now doing nothing on SmackDown. Right. He had just kind of been put into what looked to be a storyline with Aleister Black, who got future endeavored. Right. So he, I think I saw last week that he wasn't on SmackDown because they have nothing.
Yeah.
Like obviously you got rid of
that as well.
Yeah, you got rid of who you're gonna put him in a program with. So yeah, of course you wouldn't have anything for him right now. So I thought you were gonna say Big E, which I think pretty much could work similarly. He's kind of plucked from SmackDown onto Raw, and it's more of a thing like, oh, E, don't follow him, don't follow MVP, and he's like, no, I know he can help me. Like, he's not quite a heel, but he understands this is the guy to take him to that next level sort of thing. He's like 1 foot in with Hurt Business, 1 foot still in with New Day, and they could play off that a bit. So another possibility, I guess.
That's a possibility. I think the only thing is though, with that, obviously, Big E's on SmackDown and not Raw. We saw a very interesting image in the last week with MVP and the Street Profits.
Yeah, man.
That had the world talking as well. Even I think it was WWE on Fox Instagram page. Even they put it on their Instagram page. That made people talk even more.
That WWE Fox Instagram account is rogue, by the way.
Listen,
I know WWE don't approve nothing them man do.
Completely, you know.
That is such
I love it though. I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't mind it
but
still.
At the same time, it's like they just put on there. Hold on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, as I say that to say that obviously just because Big E's on SmackDown, it doesn't mean it can't happen.
Yeah.
But we also do know that there's plans for a draft after SummerSlam. Obviously, SummerSlam is in August, right?
Yeah.
So that's like almost 2 months away. So maybe we hint at all this kind of stuff for the next 2 months, and then something happens, possibly. But it's going to be interesting. I think by the draft or by September, if not before, we'll definitely have new members of the Hurt Business. I think that's a guarantee. Whether that be 1 or 2, I think MVP is going to recruit someone by September at the latest. Whether that also then means Bobby Lashley stays around, I don't know. I can't see him not being there.
Yeah.
But who knows? MVP is just trying to get some new blood right now, and whether it's red or blue, we'll see.
F50 has said in the chat, thanks for joining us today, bro. He said WWE have done everything they can to cut the legs off the Hurt Business and Bobby, probably to slow down his fan hype against Drew, but it makes us just root for him more, to be honest. That's the 100% the truth.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's exactly what, we talked about this a few weeks ago as well. That's exactly what the plan was when it came to WrestleMania. It's why we thought that Bobby Lashley was going to lose at Mania as well. But at the same time, we've now these new plans for them to go live again, weekly shows going live again. I think, we're again getting this build up for what they want to be the fans rooting for Drew. So we'll see. We'll see it works. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Do you see, quick question actually, do you see Kofi kind of entering back or staying around that WWE Championship picture at all?
I mean, with this inclusion of MVP, it would seem so. At the top of the show, obviously they started the show Monday Night Raw, that is, with the Battle Royal, the tag team Battle Royal. And I was literally just, once they panned over to everyone that was already in the ring, Xavier and Kofi, I was thinking, this guy was fighting in a number 1 contenders match last week. And now he's right back in the tag division, not even winning, it was by some funny means he got knocked out. But it's like, but then obviously the MVP thing happened, which makes you think, okay, maybe they've still got plans to use him in and around there, which is fine. But like, if fans come back and Kofi's that high up the card, they're gonna book themselves into a corner because the fans love Kofi. Right. Yeah, I feel like this could be more of a natural. I don't think they'll necessarily go back to putting the belt on Kofi within the next 12 months, but this could be more of a natural, this is the guy we want to get behind. Especially if they're going to have Drew as champion and Drew's going to be fighting, some of the same guys we've seen him, mix it up with in the last 12 months already. There'll be a lot of people behind Kofi wanting something different.
That is very, very true. Going on to new business, keeping it WWE as well. We have seen, we've mentioned Braun Strowman, we've mentioned Aleister Black, who have, both been unfortunately let go by the WWE. We also saw Lana let go. Now, the reason why I mentioned Lana, or why we are mentioning Lana, is because, of course, her tag team partner when she was let go was Naomi. since there's been no Lana, there's been no Naomi. And I think for a very long time, we all felt that the only reason why there was Naomi was because she was partnered with Lana. It's been a week, maybe too early to, start speculating or getting upset about it and stuff like that. But the truth is, since there's been no Lana, there's been no Naomi. You've mentioned this on your page in a video the other day, or I think it was yesterday. What are your thoughts when it comes to Naomi's situation now in the WWE?
I mean, between now and this draft, we probably see her a couple of times here and there, maybe just putting someone over. I think they wait for the draft. She goes over to SmackDown where her husband is. And that's about it. I think things could improve for her over on SmackDown. She could be a new contender for maybe a still champion, Bianca Belair. Obviously, her and Bianca Belair have a good friendship that we know of. Bianca Belair's credited Naomi as one of the ladies that, really made her feel at home coming up to the main roster, joining WWE. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, straight after she goes to SmackDown, we see Naomi in the title picture. Bianca Belair can get a victory over Naomi. I think that could be good for her. I wouldn't even mind like a shock Naomi winning the title, kind of linking up with the rest of the tribal mandem and that. Then Bianca Belair has to kind of fight from underneath and win it back and stuff. That can also help to bring the Street Profits into play with these guys. We could get some good kind of 6-person mixed tag matches. I don't think there's anything left for her on Raw at all. Like Nia Jax even, and someone said this, I can't remember not too long ago who it was, that no matter how, WWE always find a way to put Nia Jax on TV. Now
they do.
I think this is maybe because obviously her relationship with The Rock's mom.
A certain man called Dwayne.
And The Rock's mom seems to be apparently, well, to be honest, I don't know during the pandemic era, but apparently The Rock's mom is more or less part of production at this point. I've literally heard that she's backstage, or not properly. Yeah. But yeah, she's literally backstage all the time, politicking. Like I've heard this. So, and I think that's pretty much why Nia Jax is probably on TV more times than anybody else. Like in terms of the women's division, like even if she's not, fighting, she's got a segment or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's Nia Jax's saving grace. Naomi's saving grace has unfortunately departed. I don't think she's got much left for her to do on Raw. The trade to SmackDown, I guess, will inevitably come. And hopefully things improve for her there.
Oh, I mean, okay. I agree with you to a point in terms of, I believe WWE have lost all, ages ago, lost all faith in doing anything really, anything more with Naomi. But I personally think that she should stay on Raw. I just feel as though she just brings something to Raw that no one else does or can do. And that's, I don't necessarily see them doing anything with her, but they can. I think they can. I don't want her to go on SmackDown and then be part of, all 3 black women are on SmackDown.
Yeah.
There's that as well.
Yeah.
We already have the whole Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks thing. Yeah, it'd be nice to see, they might either team together or against each other, Bianca Belair and Naomi. But I just feel there's no real need to move her. But something has to change majorly. I think a part of me is still, I think even more so now, the person MVP needs to be in the ears of is Naomi.
The answer to everything is join the Hurt Business. Exactly
that. And it should have been from when she returned. That's what should have happened. I think that's what she needs. She needs a serious change in her demeanor, in her approach. And to be fair, that can definitely happen if she goes on SmackDown and then is coupled back with her husband and brother-in-law, the Usos.
Come on.
So, yeah, something dramatically needs to change. It's something that we've been wanting for at least 2 years now. Every return that she's made in the last 2 or 3 years, we've wanted some change. The glow thing, I realized the glow thing is over 5 years old. I didn't even realize it's that old.
You know, it still works though.
It does. It can and definitely can still work, but I think it's just run its course. I think she now needs to find, something new again. Unfortunately for her, it does work. It could have been bigger than it actually was.
Yep.
We've all said they missed a trick by not having the glow up belts on sale in the WWE shop. I would have bought that myself.
100. I don't know.
You know what I mean? I would have straight bought that myself. But I think it's more the change needs to happen for her to put herself in the faces of the powers that be. Not necessarily because what she does and how she is now isn't good. I think creative have just not bothered anymore.
Yeah.
They're just not bothered anymore, which is very clear and obvious. Even what she was doing with Lana was for me was good enough to push. Mm-hmm. It was more than good enough to push and make something of. So it's a shame that we're at where she's at. We know how gifted she is, we know how talented she is, we know how much work she's put into, get to that glow stage and then try to flourish. But injuries and setbacks and stuff like that has always been, I guess her issue as well. But I just wish there was more that they would do with her. But I guess it is gonna have to be a whole change in demeanor and something has to change for WWE to say, okay, we care about you now. Let's maybe do something with you for about a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, keeping her on Raw, like you're saying, would probably be the right thing to do. Build up that singles division because the tag division is, there's 2 female tag teams right now, 2 women's tag teams on WWE. Like,
it's just
a joke. But yeah. Keeping her on Raw is probably the best thing to do, but as they do, they don't want to separate married couples, and if they're going back on the road, they're going back on the road. So they probably put them together. That's the thing. So maybe you said all 3 black women are on one show. Maybe Sasha moves over to Raw.
True.
Maybe she has her rematch with Bianca Belair on SmackDown. Loses, she goes to after SummerSlam. Sorry. So yeah, and then that brings Naomi over. But yeah, either way, either division should easily take Naomi straight into like the singles division, chasing for the top titles. Like it doesn't make any sense just kind of leaving her to linger around doing nothing at all. Like it's. Next to the likes of Natalya and Tamina, she's like one of the longest serving women here,
for sure.
So it's like, use her. Why not? Like,
you mentioned married couples, and something I posted just before we jumped on live actually was Mia Yim and Keith Lee. An update on those 2. Mia Yim joined SmackDown about a month ago. Was supposed to debut in that first week. I think it was the week of the throwback edition of SmackDown. Yeah. Plans changed last minute because I think a segment ran over too long or something like that. And then the following week, something very similar happened where plans changed last minute and she didn't debut. They're now saying, they're just coasting and waiting to see, what they can do with her and stuff like that. There's a possibility that they're waiting for fans to be back.
Yeah.
But the interesting part of that is, obviously, we know Keith Lee hasn't been on TV for since like January, and he's on Raw. Keith Lee, Mia Yim are engaged, soon to be married. They're now going back on the road, most likely keeping them to they need to keep the 2 together. Does that then mean Keith Lee is going to end up on SmackDown? Because it's too early to push Mia Yim back to Raw. I mean, it's not. It's possible, but it doesn't really happen. Is that what we're going to see?
I think for Keith Lee's career and Mia Yim's career, SmackDown is probably the better place to be, because I don't. It's as if the writers are different or something. Like
a
well managed show compared to Raw. However, at the same time, I'm thinking Drew or whomsoever is going to be champion may need challengers. To be honest, Roman needs baby faces as challengers as well. So
true,
Lee could end up on either one. And like you're saying, I don't think nothing's happened for Mia Yim can just be moved back to Raw to tomorrow. Debut on Raw next Monday, and no one say a thing. So in that sense, it could be just a toss up as to where both of them land, especially after the draft. But yeah, they need to do something with them guys as well, man.
It's interesting, you know. I sometimes wonder whether WWE heads get a little upset when certain people get together, because they're like, oh, for goodness sake, I was going to put him on Raw this week, and now I find that them two are together, so now I'm going to have to find a way to put them on SmackDown. That must happen at some point. Moving away from WWE very quickly, we know we talked about the pay-per-view Hell in a Cell, WWE, but we've got another pay-per-view coming up. I believe is it this weekend? Or is it next weekend? It is Impact Wrestling against all odds, and it's Moose versus Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship. I believe it is actually next weekend.
Okay.
I can't even remember these days. Impact put on stuff every week. I can't keep up. But I know that Sami Callihan could now be in the mix of this match. It could end up being a triple threat match, because Sami Callihan beat Moose last week, Thursday, by disqualification because of interference from Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, which didn't quite work in the favor that they were in the way that they wanted it to, because they weren't expecting then for Sami Callihan to be, thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
It adds, I guess it just adds salt to the wounds of the fact that we know Moose is not going to come out the winner of this one. There's no way now.
Yeah.
If Sami Callihan is in the mix, and it's a triple threat match, Sami wins. Sami might even pin Moose.
Yeah.
To save Kenny's career and whatever. And Moose disappears and we never see him again in Impact.
When is his contract up? Do you know the date?
I just know it's end of June.
End of June. Okay.
End of June.
Well, yeah, this is what, triple threats are good for.
Exactly.
Someone could get pinned and it's not the champion, and the champion can be like, oh, I never lost the title, but yeah, you did. Yeah, it's. I mean, if Moose isn't re-signing, then it doesn't show any, foresight that he's going to win this championship at all. And that's probably, maybe they have put Sami Callihan in to bring the title back to Impact, and pin Moose on his way out, basically. At the same time, I can't even say I'm super into this stuff with Omega too much, but like, isn't it still a bit early if you're really putting this guy over as the god of wrestling and all of this kind of stuff? Isn't it a bit too early for him to lose this title if that's the plan?
It is. I mean, it's crazy. You've got two gods of wrestling, because even Moose has been built in that sense, and Impact of, it feels as though Impact are behind him in everything that he's done in the last few months and that as well. So it's kind of like, all right, so you've got these two gods, and then you've got this little demon in Sami Callihan that's going to come and mess up the whole picture, which makes complete sense to Sami Callihan's character and how he is. And I've said it for weeks that he is, apart from Moose, he is the only person for me that I would put, to get that, to bring that championship back to Impact, and take it from Kenny. So I'm kind of like, all right, I'm fine that it's Sami Callihan, but I'm just not good with this whole no Moose as champion, and now you're gonna make it even worse by him being pinned. Just whatever, man. It just is.
Yeah, it's still just a bit of a mess, isn't it?
yeah. It's just a bit of a mess. Apparently, they're gonna have so Tony Khan, Scott D'Amore, and the man in the middle, Don Callis, are gonna have a little summit on Thursday to talk about what's gonna happen with the match and whether it's gonna be a triple threat and all the rest of it. And I'm just like, do we need that? Is there point? Just put the announcement on Instagram on Wednesday or something, and let's just keep it moving. You know what I mean? It's all just a bit whatever. I'm happy for Sami to win it, because I'm just ready for Kenny to just leave this whole Impact AEW thing. Just leave it be, mate. Go and deal with Jungle Boy. Go and deal with Jungle Boy on AEW, and let's be on. You know what I mean?
That sounds so demeaning.
Exactly.
Go and deal with Jungle Boy.
Exactly. But at the same time, that's the truth of the matter. He's got Jungle Boy waiting in the wings on AEW for him to cash in his little, number one contenders slip, and face Kenny for the championship, which we know he's gonna lose as well. Yeah. So let's just get on with it. Can we just find Kenny a proper feud that's not been repeated 20 times with John Moxley, and just carry on? Yeah.
With Kenny, obviously the Hangman one is the one where that's the real feud that's waiting in the wings.
Right.
When they pull the trigger on that, I guess we'll see. But this whole Impact partnership thing hasn't really worked. Rich Swann dropped the title for Kenny Omega. Hasn't looked like he's ever been interested in trying to win back that title. Moose's one-on-one title opportunity has now become a triple threat situation.
Yep.
Moose doesn't look like he's staying in the company, so he is obviously not going to win a title just for a matter of weeks, or to potentially leave Impact with the championship, which I don't think that's in his character, but we don't know these people.
True.
So, it's just a bit of a mess, and they just need to tidy it up and move on. Like you said.
Exactly. Just be done with it and let's start over. Close the forbidden door, because that's been open for way too long, and too many people have been walking in and out. Like no one cares. Like a house party. But on a more positive note, we've come to that part. This is the first show of the month. Is it? It's the second. It's the second one. But yet, the first one, because now it is time to talk about the most important top 10 in all of wrestling. The Jet Power 10.
Go. Let us.
So I'm gonna mention a few people first who just about missed out on getting into the top 10, and I'll say why. But I'm gonna first go with Hit Row. Hit Row very much talked about as a collective, because Swerve didn't do anything really on his own. We saw the emergence of Hit Row. Of course, they were talked about, and it was very popular, and everyone's very excited. Especially Black wrestling fans are very, very excited to see what happens with them, what they do. They had their, I think it was, Adonis and the big guy. What did I call him again? I can't remember.
Top Dollar.
That's the one. They had their tag team match and looked great as a team, and obviously won that match. So they just about missed out. Not a lot of action in the ring, not necessarily many things happening. Their opponents weren't major opponents, so they were in there. Also, shout out to Red Velvet, who had a great match against Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's Championship on Dynamite about 2 weeks ago. Didn't win, of course, but it was an absolutely great match. Great to see her progress, always progressing throughout Red Velvet. She's an absolutely amazing prospect, and we're going to see what happens with her. A third one, honorable mention, third and final, is Myron Reed. Myron Reed, who won the
Middleweight.
MLW Middleweight Championship from Leo Rush at the start of the month, and is also the I believe it's PPW champion. I think he defended it at least twice in the month as well. So yeah, MLW is actually on a break at the minute, and I think they're coming back with a new roster. With they're doing this whole draft thing. It's like a month-long draft. They'll be back in July.
With Vice, so they're going to be on Vice as well.
Yes, it's going to be on Vice. I have no idea whether we'll see any kind of linking with WWE, because they've got that little thing going on as well. Don't know when that's going to kick in, but yeah. So Myron Reed as the final honorable mention. But let's get into these top 10. The first one, you know what, is actually a little bit controversial in the sense of
question. Is this on 10 up?
10 up.
Yeah, go on, cool.
10 to 1. 10 to 1. Yeah. Let's go. Just like Top of the Pops back in the day. 10 to 1. So this one's a little controversial, only based on the fact that the last person I mentioned in the honorable mentions is Leo Rush. It's a little controversial because Myron Reed beat Leo Rush for that championship, but the main reason why Leo Rush is, I guess, tipped the scale above Myron Reed is simply because of that surprise entrant into the Double or Nothing Casino Battle Royal.
Yeah. Major
news, came out of nowhere. No one expected it. We were talking about it for days afterwards, and then speculating whether Leo Rush would sign with AEW, and also found out that he's got a deal with New Japan as well. So for that reason, Leo Rush came in at number 10. I'm going to run through the rest 9 to 6, and then we'll talk in a little more detail about the rest 5 to 1. Number 9, Dante Martin. Dante Martin has been killing it for at least 2 months, but unfortunately on Dark. But after winning like 7 matches on Dark in a row, he managed to get a title match, a TNT title match with Miro on Dynamite.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he lost, of course. But Dante Martin's been doing absolutely great. MSK coming at number 8. Simply because, they've been around, they've been on TV almost every week, and obviously, defended their championship successfully against Breezango as well. Number 7, Fire and Flavor won back the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. So well done to them. And also Tasha Steelz. If no one's watched this match, go and find it right now. Tasha Steelz versus Jordan Grace. It was on before the Impact. The show before the Impact that comes on before Impact. Before the Impact comes on before Impact. Yeah. Anyway, logical. But go and check that match out. It was absolutely amazing. Tasha Steelz won the match. And I think it was literally the week before they won back the Tag Team Championships as well. And then at number 6, actually, we can talk about number 6 in just a little bit more detail. Number 6, Anthony Ogogo. He actually came number 6 last month as well. He hasn't moved from there simply because, as much as we were talking about him a little bit more, obviously he didn't win his match. He had a big match against Cody. We were talking about it, for how long. And I've put in capitals as well, that promo. Yeah. That promo was amazing. Obviously, there was a little bit of controversy with with Cody Rhodes and his, what was it again? Focus group. Basically, Arn Anderson and Dean Malenko asking them what they thought of his promos, talking about America the Great and all the rest of it, and having mixed race babies and whatever else, I don't know. And then coming out looking like Homelander from The Boys and beating the mixed race British guy. He just doesn't sound right at all.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Moving on now to number 5. Number 5 is the man that we've spoken about quite a bit already, is Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
Kofi Kingston came in there, of course. He defeated Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley on the same night in 2 separate matches, both with roll-ups, but it doesn't matter. A win's a win. A win is a win. It doesn't matter how. Win is a win. But of course, he then went on to face Drew McIntyre for the number 1 contender spot for the WWE Championship. I mean, I'm sure I know I've asked you this already, but did you get excited when Kofi Kingston was in this position?
Yeah, I did foolishly, but, you know, we all like Kofi. That is one thing that we all have in common. Whether you think he should be a champion or not, like everyone likes and respects Kofi, and they do need these guys, especially these ones that have been to the top of the mountain before, to be able to throw them back into the mix. And is he gonna win it? You start asking yourself, or, you know, is he gonna progress? You know, when it's just the same old guys, same old faces all the time, you know, things become a bit predictable. But once you see the likes of a Kofi Kingston, or even, you know, when it came to the last WrestleMania just gone, Daniel Bryan thrown into the mix with Edge and Roman, it's like, okay, like this guy's pretty popular. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they went for this. And that's the kind of stuff that should just leave you on the end of your seat every time. Nothing to be so predictable. But yeah, you know, Kofi, you know, you can see the bigger picture. It was never for him. But I guess being able to dream a little bit, it's what it's about.
True. And you know what? To be honest, I never thought about that comparison with Kofi and Daniel Bryan. Obviously, Daniel Bryan jumped in the mix with Roman and Edge. Edge winning the Royal Rumble match. So we had a match against, you know, an imminent match against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Somehow, maybe simply based on his popularity, Daniel Bryan got thrown in the mix, and, you know, he ended up being a triple threat. So it definitely always adds a bit of spice to the storyline and stuff like that. This one wasn't so, you know, this one was a little bit more obvious as to the outcome.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as always with wrestling, you never know, and unpredictability is what makes it more interesting. So for a few moments, especially with their last match, with Drew and Kofi Kingston's match, you thought there was a possibility. But now it's kind of like, already we've seen him back in the tag team championship division, and you're just like, okay, all right, we know what you did here. All right, fair enough, whatever. Let's move on. But again, you know, that conversation with MVP gives us hope that there's gonna be maybe another story of substance for Kofi Kingston, and I hope that it doesn't really matter whether it's for, you know, it comes with WWE Championship or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I just need to see Kofi in a story with substance. You know what I mean? And that's all that really matters. Coming in at number 4 is the man we want to be the Impact Champion, but it's not going to happen in our lifetime, is Moose. Of course, Moose won a 6-way match. Bro, that match was absolutely
terrific.
Crazy.
Terrific.
Incredible match. It had Chris Sabin, it had Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, who else was in it? Sami Callihan, and formerly known as Zack Ryder.
Matt Cardona,
that's the one. All in the match. Crazy match for the number 1 contendership. The outcome was imminent to me, but at the same time, you know, it didn't take away from the match. It did not take away from the match whatsoever. Moose came out on top, of course, and for that reason, you know, he has a big match on paper. A big match against Kenny Omega for the Impact Championship against all odds next week or this weekend. I can't remember when.
It's this weekend. I checked. It's on the 12th.
Yeah, so the 12th. I thought it was. I just wasn't completely sure. So yeah, Moose comes in at number 4. Will we see Moose stay in the list next month? Will he do something enough for him to stay in that enough? I don't know.
Moose only stays in this list, in my opinion, if he wins the Impact Championship.
This is very true.
Then he pretty much comes first in this list. If he beats Kenny Omega, he pretty much comes first.
Straight up
and if he loses, he's not even in the list. So it's definitely a story, 2 tells. And, you know, like you said, he could be leaving at the end of the month as well. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of in and out of the list, for the first time ever since the list started in October, I believe it was, Sasha Banks does not feature in the list whatsoever. Obviously she's done nothing, of course.
Yeah.
There's an obvious reason why.
Yeah.
But still, for the first time, and she is the only person that has been in the list every single month. Literally the only person, which is crazy. But of course, the only reason why she's not in there is because she hasn't been active. She hasn't been there, and she was always in the top 5.
I am curious as to what, I mean, she's a star. She's probably shooting something or making her rap album or whatever she was doing.
Yeah. True.
But like, it's just weird how since the week after Mania, we haven't seen it, without explanation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, without even trying to find an explanation, it's simply a break.
Yeah, that's probably could.
She was one of the hardest working stars, her and Bailey, and possibly Drew McIntyre, with the hardest working stars in all of WWE for almost a year. Yeah, especially during the main segments of that pandemic era and stuff like that. So maybe it's simply just a break. Yeah. We know that she's had burnout before with a more negative outcome or response. Her body or mental state has definitely had a more negative outcome or reaction to the hard work that she's putting in. So yeah, I guess for me it's just a break that she needs and deserves, for sure. Yeah. Moving quickly to number 3. Number 3 is a non-mover. And it is Apollo Crews. As Mex sits in the dungeon of Apollo Crews with the Intercontinental Championship behind him.
I'm guarding it for him.
Commander Mex holding the Intercontinental Championship. So Apollo Crews comes in at number 3. Still on this role of, I would say personally, dominance. Yeah. As much as it's with Commander Aziz by his side, and he's the one probably pulling the strings and making sure he keeps the title and stuff. I watched his match with Kevin Owens, and as much as Owens was beaten up before the match started by Commander Aziz, Apollo still pulled it out the bag. He pulled out a top performance and still beat him clean and all the rest of it, and is still the Intercontinental Champion since Mania, and it doesn't look like anyone's taking it from him anytime soon, because it now looks as well with Sami Zayn attacked Kevin Owens after that match. So it now looks as if they're going to have their thing over there, and someone new has to come out for Apollo. Yeah. So Apollo's still going to hold this thing for another few weeks.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Obviously, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are going to go off and do their own thing. Apollo, he's been giving us great matches since back when. Like, that's not nothing that fans have ever questioned. It's always been the character stuff, which he has found, especially within this character. And it's just great to see him embrace it and really deliver it. I loved when Commander Aziz beat up Kevin Owens backstage. Apollo just walked into the scene and just laughed at Kevin Owens and walked off. Big up Kevin Owens as well, because he sold for Apollo so well in that match, carrying the story through of him being attacked beforehand. Sure. And like you said, it may be, maybe this draft is what's gonna actually show us a legitimate contender to Apollo, because everyone in and around that mid card, apart from to bring Big E back into play, like everyone else is occupied at this stage. Even Shinsuke's off doing a thing with Corbin. There's no one really left around there.
I mean, I think it's even possible that Apollo doesn't even have a match at Hell in a Cell. And it's not going to be until the next pay-per-view, possibly a SmackDown, where he has another title match. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, he's going to have his championship for at least another month at the minimum, which is only a good thing. And he's just doing brilliant things, man. Apart from that accent, sorry I have to say it, but everything else is just absolutely bang on. Everything else is perfect. Moving quickly to number 2. Number 2 dropped from 1 to 2 is not a bad thing. Is Bianca Belair. Of course, she held onto a SmackDown Women's Championship, beating the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion of all time, which is Bailey. That's a massive win for Bianca Belair. Again, another great match that they actually had at Backlash. Backlash was full of good matches, which no one expected. No one expected at all. I definitely didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So that was great to see. She also defeated another former champion in Carmella on SmackDown, which was a non-title match. But again, Belair is still on this run. And I don't see, as much as I'm not overly excited by her reign, I don't see it ending anytime soon. I can't see anyone again like being built for that to happen, unless it's Bayley in the next month or so.
I think she doesn't potentially have a real threat until SummerSlam comes. And that could be, most likely returning Sasha Banks.
True.
I mean, I'm very underwhelmed by this run. Like you said, she's just kind of just going through the motions, doing her bit. I just think this isn't what we signed up for. Like, you've done a great job building her Royal Rumble. Yeah, the road to WrestleMania wasn't great. Had a brilliant WrestleMania match and moment. And it's just like, literally, it's just like, come on.
It's very much roller coaster with this reign. It reminds me quite a lot, actually. Dare I say, it reminds me quite a lot of Kofi Kingston's championship run. Obviously, his build-up was phenomenal. The build-up to WrestleMania was phenomenal. Obviously, we then had the WrestleMania moment. Bianca had an amazing WrestleMania moment. Since then, it's kind of just been steady coasting, really. Just been steady. It's not as exciting as everything else was beforehand. We're not really getting the Bianca Belair that we wanted or thought we would get. So it's a little disheartening. But at the same time, based on the criteria and numbers, a win's a win. And she is the highest profile black female champion in the world of wrestling right now. And you can't take that away from her at all. At all. And to end the list, of course, it had to be the guy that was in number 2 last month, Bobby Lashley. The only reason why he is above Bianca Belair is simply because the match that he won at Backlash was a triple threat match. Yeah. And it was 2 big guys in Drew McIntyre, former champion, of course, Braun Strowman, a former Universal champion. So Bobby Lashley is on top of the mountain and sits there as the almighty one for another month. He's been fluctuating between 1 and 2 for, I think, the last 3, maybe 4 months now. Again, well, I was going to say again, I don't see the title change, but we've said very, very opposite to that earlier in the show. So we'll see. Will he end up staying on top? I mean, if he wins that match, he's staying on top. Possibly number 2 if Moose wins. That's not happening. But it's been a good month. It's been a good month, and there's a lot of things coming our way with the next month as well. So that was the Jet Power 10, folks, and we are slowly out of time. Mex, I'm gonna give you the last thought. Is there a last thought that you have for the people?
Not necessarily. Guys, go over to Black Wrestling Alliance so you'll see the full write-up of the Jet Power 10 in those beautifully designed posts that ADazzle does. So catch those over there. And yeah, we will be here, same place, next week.
Yeah, folks, time is up. As Mex said, you can follow me on Black Wrestling Alliance. Check out the full Jet Power 10, which we posted very shortly after this show ends. Also, of course, because you're watching on the WrestleMania UK YouTube channel, you better go over to Twitter and Instagram and go and follow the guy too. It just makes sense. So Instagram, WrestleMania.uk, and Twitter is WrestleMania UK. Of course, folks, you're also listening on AffinityExtra.com. For those who are interested in the world of gospel music, you can go and follow AffinityExtra.com too. We've got the best in urban. You might even hear Josiah Williams on there as well, actually. He does feature a couple of times. So, yeah, we still keep it wrestling, even when it's not wrestling. Folks, that is the end of it. Time is way over, but I don't care. Let's go. See you later, folks.